Hello and welcome to Region Locked. The Metal Slug series is known for a number of things: its spectacular pixel artwork and dedication to 2D gameplay, its fast-paced run-and-gun action, and of course, its humor. Created by SNK, a company most notable for its incredible use of sprite work in their games, Metal Slug is perhaps one of the most well-recognized arcade run-and-gun titles in history. However, the series wasn't without its spin-offs, one of which would distance itself in almost every known way from all previous Metal Slug titles. Today, we'll be looking at Metal Slug for the PlayStation 2. Released as simply Metal Slug, though fan-dubbed Metal Slug 3D in order to differentiate it from the first entry in the core series, the game was created by SNK Playmore and published in 2006 exclusively in Japan. As previously mentioned, unlike all previous Metal Slug titles, this time the game takes shape in 3D, and the game's plot takes a much more central role. Players take control of Marco Rossi, Tama Roving, Fio Germa, and Eri Kasamoto, as they attempt to thwart the plans of series antagonist General Morden. Having received word of a mid-sized detachment hidden in a mountain village a short distance from the government force's main base, Special Ops Unit Peregrine Falcons is sent in to investigate. The Peregrine Falcons HQ is raided by Morden's troops, made possible from an alliance between the dictator and the multimillionaire Ogma, the president of technology firm Ogma Enterprises. Our hero, Marco, must regroup with his team, defeat Morden, and uncover the truth behind Ogma's motives. Aside from the standard Metal Slug controls like jumping, shooting, and secondary weapons, many elements of Metal Slug are changed when the environment is put into 3D. As well as the player starting with 4 hit points, they must lock on to enemies in order to properly aim. The player can also swap between the various weapons and sub-weapons they find throughout the game. Though the pistol has unlimited ammo, the ammunition for all the other weapons is limited and is not replenished at the start of each level, and is instead carried over from the previous. Many of the series' staple weapons make reappearances, such as the shotgun, heavy machine gun, rocket launcher, enemy chaser, iron lizard, double machine gun, flame shot, the super grenade, which is essentially a rifle-mounted grenade launcher, and the laser gun, capable of shooting a powerful beam but with very limited ammo. There's even a unique weapon to the game, the sniper rifle, which, predictably, allows the player to scope. The player can also make use of a knife for close-quarters combat with Marco and Tama, and the tonfa for Fio and Eri, allowing them to dodge and slide while locked onto an enemy. The player can also make use of grenades, including the standard frag grenade, Molotovs, and smoke grenades, as well as stones and the monolith, with which the player throws out a beacon which calls down a massive stone tablet from the sky. This appears to be very similar to the attack used by the Mono-Eye artifact in Metal Slug 3. As with other Metal Slug titles, within each level are prisoners of war, who are often hidden from the player. When rescued, they will provide the player with materials, health, or ammunition. Likely in an attempt to shift the game away from its arcade roots and follow more closely to a traditional console release, each of the characters can be upgraded and customized. Player performance is rated at the end of each level based on score and completion time, as well as a bonus from saving prisoners. Though if the player dies at any point in the level, they lose the bonus for any prisoners rescued prior to the death. For every S rank the player achieves throughout the game, the stats of the character are increased. There are 4 different stats, with each character specializing in one, that will be full from the very start of the game. Marco starts with full hit rate, determining the character's overall accuracy and range of their weapons. Fio is focused on power. As expected, this stat increases the amount of damage done by the player's attacks. Tama starts the game with full machine, which increases the mobility of their vehicles, and Eri begins with full pellet. Pellet determines the amount of splash damage from the player's attacks, increasing the weapon's radius the higher the stat. There are also a number of additional upgrades that can be purchased. When playing through the game, the player earns skill points to spend. The higher the difficulty, the more of these points the player will acquire. The 4 upgrades available increase the range of the lock-on ability, increase the speed at which the player can throw grenades, improve luck to decrease enemy accuracy, as well as one for simply boosting maximum HP. When playing through the game, the player collects materials which in turn can be used in the laboratory to create new customization options and upgrades for the titular Metal Slug. The core, the treads, the main cannon, the secondary weapon, the Vulcan, armor, and camouflage can all be changed. Each level is split up into multiple stages, with the final stage of each one ending in a boss fight. Several levels in the game change the perspective entirely and take the form of an on-rail shooter instead. These have the player flying in a jet or underwater in a submarine. After completion of the game, an extra minigame can be unlocked which puts the player in control of a prisoner of war. They are unable to attack and must escape from a compound whilst not being spotted by the enemy. The game was first unveiled at the Tokyo Game Show in 2004, being announced without a definite title having been decided. At E3 the following year, SNK announced that the game would be called Metal Slug Evolution, though the Evolution subtitle was later dropped. Metal Slug's first venture into 3D would, unsurprisingly, require additional staff to manage, with many of the original artists for the series having only worked exclusively in 2D. That said, Metal Slug 3D was created by a team without any of the series' original developers. The choice of moving the series into 3D was made by then SNK Director of Games, and later SNK Playmore President, Soichiro Hosoya, as he believed that for a game publisher to survive, they must move into 3D development. He said, "As a games developer, we won't be able to survive without 3D titles. We also understand that the US and European markets, respectively their gamers, want 3D titles. Titles need not only be directed towards the world market, but also have to develop towards 3D, as games publishers won't be able to survive otherwise." This led to the creation of King of Fighters Maximum Impact, the first of SNK's 3D titles. It seemed like only a natural progression for Metal Slug to make a similar move, being one of the more popular series for Western audiences, and Hosoya's statement that US and European markets prefer 3D titles. Rumors have often spread that the game wasn't always intended to be exclusively released in Japan. The game has full English voice acting.
Major Rossi! It's me!
And many of the game's menus are already written in English. There were allegedly plans for a North American release under the name Metal Slug 2006, as well that it would be published in Europe as Metal Slug 3D by Ignition Entertainment, the publisher of many Metal Slug titles. Ultimately, it's likely that SNK decided against the decision to release the game internationally after the title received extensive criticism before it had even been released in Japan. Many fans of the series expressed their distaste for the title online, even with just the very idea of Metal Slug being made in 3D. With that said, Famitsu actually reviewed the game positively, giving it a solid flush of 7s after it had been released, and many comments online said that it wasn't as bad as they had initially expected following pre-release speculation. Being released in 2006, the PlayStation 2 was beginning to make way for the soon-to-be-released PlayStation 3. This was factored into the decision, as when asked what the fate of the game was for the West, Hosoya had stated, "Metal Slug 3D, though, I can tell you, will only be released in Japan. We're doing this as it will be a PS2 title. Regarding the US-European market, we want to re-release Metal Slug 3D on next-generation consoles. As Metal Slug 3D is a strategically important title for the US-European market, we don't want to release a half-finished product. King of Fighters Maximum Impact and Metal Slug 3D are two of our main pillars with which we want to tailor to their wishes the 3D. The game was released as a way to celebrate Metal Slug's 10th anniversary, though because of the poor reception, the company put together and released Metal Slug Anthology internationally instead, a compilation containing Metal Slug 1 through 6 and Metal Slug X.